The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and don't necessarily reflect the views of WOWT.
Welcome once again to another episode of Becca's Talking here. Thanks for joining us. I got. If you like to read, if you want to be an author, we got a great conversation coming up in a second here. But first, I got to talk to you about the fine folks here at Havana Garage. Havana Garage in the Old Market in Omaha, which is just a good place to go and relax, have a cocktail, maybe a cigar if you're so inclined. I know a bunch of friends of mine meet there every Thursday. I tend to join them every now and then every Thursday. It's a sort of a regular thing. And make it a regular thing for you, too. Especially, though, if you're looking for a nice night out, maybe a nice dinner in the Old Market, make Havana Garage part of that night. Or you got a concert at the CHI Center or the Holland or Steel House or maybe a play at the Orpheum. Make Havana Garage part of your night. Havana Garage in the Old Market. Tell them you heard about it on the Becca's Talking podcast. Okay, now, before we get into the conversation here, a little personal anecdote here, okay? So, I always wanted to write a book. For some reason, I don't know why, I always wanted to write a book. And, matter of fact, I tried to write a book in second grade. I wanted to write a book about the Beatles. It never went anywhere. But anyway, I always wanted to write a book. And so one day I finally started doing it. And I went and I wrote this book. And it's called There's No Business Without the Show. It's completely outdated now, but it was fun. Okay, so anyway, that's another story. But anyway, I was rather naive. I thought, you write the book, you put it in the stores, you cash the check. I was a little naive into what goes into writing a book, what goes into merchandising a book, what goes into publishing a book. And this woman right here helped me through it all and has helped countless other authors in the Midwest write their books. Lisa Pelto with Concierge Marketing. And Lisa, thanks for joining us. I did. I mean, I was so stupid. I was so naive about this. It's like, how hard can it be? You know, I figured my book will be the next Harry Potter, and I'll be able to retire on the Riviera. Didn't quite work that way, but it was still a great experience. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So I always had a passion to write a book. What got you involved in wanting to help people publish their books?
I worked for an architect way back in the 80s, and we did some, publishing of the spec books and that. And I kind of liked the whole process of putting a book together, and then end up going to college. That architect sent me to take a few classes, and I just fell in love with school. And then kind of started. The first book I did was in 1981 to help with, since I had the big printing experience at an architect firm. A guy at Creighton had me do a book for Tony Baroni way back then called Tic Tac Tony. And I don't know, I just fell in love with the whole idea that an author is taking something out of their head and putting it in something tangible, and other people can stick it in their head by reading it. I just love the whole process of authorship and creating something for other people to enjoy.
I will admit there is something to be said when you write that book and you're holding it in your hand for the first time. It's quite an experience, quite a feeling.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you got into doing this. Now, who besides who wants to do this? You're basically, would you be considered, it's self-publishing. Is it basically just to soothe people's egos? what?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We're publishing services company, so everything we do is in the author's name. Like you have your own publishing company.
Right.
And we serve as your staff. So people do it for, the way I best describe it is people that have changed the world, want to change the world, or want to create their own world. And that kind of encompasses everything. Most of our clients are not writers, not authors when they come. They've done something, they want to tell the story. that's just really fun. There are some that aspire to be writers and want to quit their job and write for a living, but the environment's a lot different now. There are plenty of people right here in Nebraska that are making a good living just in writing books, mostly in romance and fiction and that. And that's all they do is write
I want to
books.
get into marketing of the books because like the Borders bookstores went out of business. Barnes and Noble is still hanging in there. I mean, everything seems to be Amazon now. So I want to get to that, into that in just a moment or so. But when somebody comes to you and with a book, I thought what I handed you was fairly well done. I thought, okay, this is it. I'm done. I was wrong. So somebody comes to you and says, here's my manuscript. What's the process?
Every book has to be edited. In fact, we don't really work with people that won't let us polish it up. Your book was in great shape. You know, we've done a lot of books that are like, we're not doing that.
Have you ever somebody come to you with a book idea and you said, I'm sorry, we just can't help you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain criteria that kind of push that out right away. And, you know, don't want to get into too much of that, but we do sometimes
So in other words,
turn
if
those
somebody
away.
comes with a porno book, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And there's other topics too.
Yeah.
But, you know, we specialize in some historical fiction, nonfiction, and children's books, and some romance books too. But that leaves a lot of genres. We point them to different directions, different people that do publishing services, and there's other companies. When I first started, there were a handful. There were 5 companies that help people put together their own self-publishing kind of operation, an imprint. And now there's lots of them. There's a lot of people from New York that have been, you know, fired, or agents or that, and they get into the business and they all of a sudden think they know about self-publishing. But, you know, 3 years ago, they were sitting in New York at a restaurant next to the New York Times and didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the self-publishing and independent publishing, which we like to really stop saying self-publishing, because independent publishing means you stand beside traditionally published books in the quality and look and design and editorial stuff. Self-publishing has been hijacked by DIY. And there's very, very different people doing their own stuff.
I want to get into that. Well, also, before we go any further, just in case anybody from the IRS is paying attention to this, okay, I had my own publishing company.
Right.
It's been dissolved. I got nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it anymore. I'm because my book is written like my book was written in 2000. Well,
Eight.
it was published in 2008. It was written like in 2007.
Right.
Published in 2008. Right, and it was geared towards business people. It was geared towards, I was going to go and speaking gigs, and I was going to, after the speaking gig, sell the books in the back of the room. But my book came out in August of 2008, October of 2008. The stock market crashed, and basically, I mean, I made a few bucks on the book, but overall, it was not the success I was hoping for. But it was still an honor to just say that I had done it. And that's the thing too. When I wrote the book, I had people come up to me and say, "Oh, I always wanted to write a book," and my answer to them was, "Well, then why don't you?"
Right.
I bet you get that a lot too.
Absolutely, I do. And sometimes we'll have people in our classes, they always wanted to write a book. I teach at Metro. And I'm like, write it. Doesn't mean you have to publish it for, the general public. Maybe we just do 12 of them, We do a lot of that. But it just depends what they're trying to do, and we have that conversation with them. Do you want to be in the publishing business and distribute the information? Because publishing is not just printing. And we have that conversation very early and determine what their energy level is for that.
I made the analogy about when you write a book and say I'm going to write a book, in that I think it's kind of like, the idea of having a kid. The idea sounds good. And it's fun. And then all of a sudden you realize when it's too late to turn back, you realize, oh, I didn't think I had to do this and this and this and this. Same thing with writing a book. I want to write a book. Hey, I got a book. Hey, here's my book. Okay, now I got to do what? I got to do this, this, and this, and this. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the manuscript, you edit it, then what?
We do formatting and create whatever formats people want. Pretty much over the pandemic, pretty early, consumer behavior changed in that arena. So we used to stagger and spend a lot of time on what we release when, hardcover, paperback, ebook, audiobook. Now we just make them all at the same time because people want what they want when they want it. So the formatting part, once it's done, and then we're into marketing. But you mentioned that Amazon's like the big dog, but there's a lot of opportunities in publishing that are outside of the bookstore kind of arena that people sometimes miss, like bulk sales and corporate sales and that kind of thing. Those are where one sale can result in 250 books sold. And those are the ones that we really want to pay attention to in the nonfiction business market because people do buy a lot of books.
Yeah, no, people are still buying books.
Absolutely, yep.
I do prefer the book itself to downloading one.
Yeah.
Although downloading, if you're traveling, you can download a few books and take it with you. But I do prefer just having the actual book in hand. But I think it was Warren Zevon had a quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, something about, you buy books to give you the illusion that you'll have the time to actually read them. Which is true with me. I mean, I'll get a book out, and I'd like to. I'm going to get to that later. I got to do this first. I mean, it is. But
as a publisher, that's what we just want you to buy the book. We don't care if you read it. As the writer, we want you to read it.
But it is so. Okay. So then you've got the formatting, you've got the editing, you've got all of that. But now you got to worry about the covers, right? The covers, the getting it into the Library of Congress, right? What else?
So we do three main parts. The compliance part is like the business end of it. The Library of Congress, the Bowker, the setting it up with distribution and pricing strategy and all that stuff. That's really a one-time deal. Once we get it set up. Excuse me. So you can do a whole bunch of books with the same system. With product development, that's when we're, kind of making decisions on how we're going to market it, because every book has its own marketing plan, really, and marketing needs. It's one of my pet peeves is that I see a lot of stuff. How do you market a book? It's like, well, who's your audience? What's the genre? What are you trying to achieve? That kind of stuff. We establish all of that stuff after, all along the process. In fact, the very first conversation we have with authors is about that now, where it used to be more on the technical side of actually publishing. Now we're looking at how are you going to sell it? So we don't leave people out in the wind. We want to equip people with enough information where they can go out and sell it. So it's all kind of at the same time.
I remember you taking me to the Barnes & Noble there out at Oakview Mall and standing like in the middle of the store, and you said, you see all these books here? This is your competition. And then you said that the average book sells how many copies?
Well, it's changed since then. But
you said it was 500. What is it now?
It depends on the marketing, and it totally depends on the genre and how they're doing it all. If you look in the publicity about it, people say 250, but we really are in the couple of thousand that we target to get the revenue stream. Back, in the early 2000s and way before that, it was virtually impossible to make your money back because you had to buy books and supply them to a distributor. Now you have the print-on-demand option. Let the Amazon and the Barnes & Noble and the Ingram Spark, which is the biggest distributor, they own a small division called Ingram Spark. Let that handle itself, online sales and all that stuff, and then have your own environment. Then people are starting to get their money back and sell a lot more copies because they don't have to have that physical distribution system and the printed books, and it cuts several $1,000s off the top of your bill not to have to print. So we have people that have sold a couple million books. We have people that have sold 12.
So, okay. Now, one of the big sellers, you brought a copy of it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Matter of fact, I interviewed the man that wrote this book.
Yeah.
The book is called when the mob ran Vegas. And I interviewed this guy on my old radio show way back when, and that's how I became, connected with you and everything. And he was talking to me about this, and it is a fascinating book about the old days of Vegas. Back, I talk about Nevada Garage and having kind of a Rat Pack atmosphere there. And this was back in that era, and it's a great book. And he sold a ton of these. Steve is no longer alive now, but you own the rights to the book, and you're still publishing this. So you sold a boatload of these books, haven't you?
Sandra Wendell and I, she was the editor since 2004. I came on board in 2004 as well. We have sold a lot, and a lot in casinos. The bookstores are not really that. I mean, they are part of it, but that's not our primary thing. Gift shops in the casinos, the chip catalogs, and mob museum, and all that. And this is the second version of that Sandy and I. After Steve died, we talked to his wife, and she, she's getting on in age too. It's a lot of work to do a book. So we redid that one, and we actually formed an LLC and a separate publishing company and all that to do it. So Jan, Steve's wife, was all part of that and helped supply information for it. When we did this book, this one just came out this year, and this one was re-released this year.
Yeah, because Steve was writing on the second book, the follow-up to this, when he passed away. So this was more stories of all the gangsters and
showgirls.
Oh, there's a showgirls
and celebrities. Yeah,
showgirls and celebrities.
Gangsters in there too. Frank Sinatra and showgirls in that. But the way we've always looked at it is that every time somebody turns 21, they're a potential customer for this, because they're going out to Vegas and having that experience once they're of age. So the age group keeps growing. It just hasn't ever stopped. It was the best-selling book on Las Vegas history for like 15 years initially. When Steve would walk he'd go out to Vegas. He'd fill up his trunk with dozen donuts, and a bunch of books, and he'd walk in, talk to the head person, at the front desk, hand him a box of donuts. You think I could get in to see the boss? Uh-huh. That's how he sold a lot of books. We did a book signing at the Barnes & Noble out there, and I got him some magnetic bullet holes, and he put them along his car, and then he parked all wonky on a curb like he was, in the middle of of an organized crime thing, and he used to dress up in the mob outfit and all that. It was fun.
See, Steve was a character. He was definitely a character, and they are good books. Yeah. So he's selling a bunch of these books. What about like movie rights? You ever try to get movie rights in that to the?
We do have one book that's in the process right now of trying to find funding, and that was written by an Omaha police officer, Chris Legaro, and that it's a novel. We have another that. A couple of them that are true crime books that are being interviewed for the true crime shows where they do the thing from front to back, and that we do tend to do a lot of true crime.
Is that movie? Because I forget the gentleman's name, but I had him on the podcast. Is that the one that was the undercover cop that is now that wrote the book?
Paul Maloney is one of the cops, and he's got a fascinating story. He was an undercover cop,
right?
And a SWAT team guy.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah,
yeah, he's an interesting guy. That's we're working on that one. He probably will have something done. Brian Bogdanoff has been on. Quite a few different true crime shows. We've got a guy out in Las Vegas that has some movie rights going. He's actually started as a screenplay guy. His book is called Escaping the Kill Zone, and he was at the time the bodyguard for the hustler guy that's in the wheelchair, Larry Flint.
Larry Flint, yeah.
He was his bodyguard, and
he didn't do a very good job then, did he?
Yeah. Well, after he was in the wheelchair.
Fact. Okay, after the fact.
But then he wanted to get out, and they tried to kill him, and that's what his book is about.
Wait.
Yeah.
The bodyguard tried to kill Larry Flint?
No. The Larry Flint's guys tried to.
Try to kill the bodyguard.
Yeah, they don't want people quitting.
Oh.
He infiltrated the mob in Las Vegas and was part of one of the largest mail fraud cases in U.S. history. So we meet some fascinating people, for sure.
So when you go into Vegas to try to sell one of these books, it's in the bookstores there and the gift shops there and the casinos, Are you dealing with those guys? You know, I mean, I had the image of the bitch cigar and the nose and the, you know.
Not so much. Usually the gift shop people are handled by a distribution company now. Steve used to. He'd walk in there and make a deal with those guys, but now they have distribution companies that handle that. One big one, W.H. Smith, that handles the airport stuff. They also handle all the casinos
And gift shops and that, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's it. And what about also children's books, right? You do a lot of children's books.
Well, in 2018, I wrote this one, and then last year we translated it into Spanish. Meet Me at the Farmer's Market. I was doing a lot of farmers markets at the time.
Oh, so this is actually your book.
Yeah.
You actually wrote this book. Okay.
Yep. So it was a lot of fun. It was actually a really interesting experience for me being on that side of the fence because I had always been working with other people, and people say things and you don't really know why they feel that way. But this was a good experience for me because, oh, that's why that feels like that.
Yeah.
And this book, when this is a bilingual of the farmers market in Spanish and English, but when we did the translation with a group up in at Columbia University and that group, it was very interesting because the colloquialisms and cliches and things like that, they don't translate. Idioms like Mom says we're 4 peas in a pod in English. That's not a thing in the Spanish language. So we had to do 2 separate stories in there. Just some interesting translation issues, but
Well, that's a whole other market there too, isn't it? The Hispanic market.
Yeah. Absolutely. This bilingual has surpassed sales from the English version here in Omaha.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And now, okay, so we talked about, marketing and everything. Obviously, Amazon probably still the number 1 bookseller, right? I mean,
yeah, it's as far as online bookstores, people, you have to be there.
Yeah.
On Amazon. But that's not where most books are sold. It's outside of the bookstore market.
About 2 years ago or so, maybe more like 3, I was on Amazon. Didn't see my book, and my book is still listed on there. And they've got some used copies for sale. One person was trying to sell an autographed copy of my book for like $50, and I was just amazed. It was like, if anybody bought that book, that poor sucker, But anyway, okay, so Amazon. But then we talked about the gift shops, like for this book and the casinos. And then you go to like junk stock and other events to sell books too. I mean, there's more than one way to do this, isn't there?
Yep. We do local book collaboratives. So I invite other independent authors, really they don't have to be published by me, although I do have a lot of my authors in those. But we do junk stock. This is our 12th season coming up here, October 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 10th, 11th, and 12th. 2 weekends, 21 book signings, authors standing there. Sometimes an author has never been in front of a public environment, so I'm teaching them how to talk about their book, how to hand their book to somebody, how to feel confident, that they wrote a book and they're not wanting to hide, although that does fail sometimes. People get intimidated because there's a lot of people at junk stock.
Yeah.
We sell a ton of books at that. Then we're doing another one in November with local authors at the CHI Health Center Arena with the Holiday Boutique, which is sort of they have all kinds of gifts. They're on the higher end of that. We have 16 book signings at that one. 2 authors all the time. We've got a 10 by 20 booth, so they're on opposite ends. And then in December 13th, we have a book festival where authors can come. They have their own booth there, and it's not just books. It's like book merchandise, and there's a furniture guy, there's a food vendor, hopefully a Boy Scout troop can carry off a gift wrap thing. We don't know about that. And we've got people coming from outside of Omaha. One from Phoenix, that's one of our authors that's written a book about long haul bike trips across the United States. The first one is called Buddha and the Bee. And he's really fun to talk to. We should have him on your show when he's here. He's a riot, but he also sells a ton of books.
Is there a common thread with the people that come to you with their manuscripts? And then, is there a common thread with these authors, or is it everybody is different?
Everybody's different. That's what makes it fascinating. We have just an incredible array of people with all kinds of experiences. And, we've even had a 26-year-old memoirist. You'd think, what do you have? What have you possibly done? But a fascinating story. So it's an unbelievable business that we get to meet people that have done fascinating things.
Okay, I got a few more questions for you, but one more time I got to talk about the fine folks there at Havana Garage in the Old Market, who've been around for some time now. If you've been to the Old Market, Havana Garage is there. They got a nice outdoor patio there, but it's a place you can go and have a nice cigar, a cocktail, a wide variety of whiskeys. Yeah, I'm a single malt Scotch guy myself, but you don't have to be. Whatever you want, and non-alcoholic too, if you're so inclined. It's just a nice place to go, relax, talk to your friends, and just sort of enjoy the atmosphere of the Old Market. You talk about a wide variety of people. You'll see them in the Old Market, and you'll see them there at Havana Garage. Tell Chaz and company that you saw it here on the podcast. Okay, so as we sort of wrapping this up here, when you go now and you are talking to these people, I mean, because you've got to go and have the cover designed and all that stuff, and you say a lot of them are very nervous about when they get out in front of the public and stuff like that. Yeah. What can you do to basically kick them in the butt to make it happen, or do you just let them sort of flounder there?
I don't want it. I don't want anybody to flounder. They've got a story to tell and share, or they wouldn't have done a book. Mm-hmm. So we do, everything from how to hand a book to someone, like very, very simple stuff, like don't hold your book up like this. You as you're talking, they're instinctively going to grab it and look at it. Your sales go up when they have it in their hands.
Once they have it, it's like, oh, I don't really want the book, but it'd be awkward to hand it back. I've actually bought books like that. I won't mention any authors here, local authors, but I've actually done that. Where I would see them in a booth and then be talking to them for a moment. And they put the book in my hand, and it's like, oh, yeah, that seems real interesting.
Exactly.
And I'll buy one. Yeah. So.
But once they turn it around and start flipping through, and we talk to them about that, like have an elevator speech ready. Be ready to talk about your book. How are you going to describe it? Meet me at the farmer's market. It's not hard to describe. It's a book about a little girl that goes to the farmer's market for the first time, and she sees all the things that are available at the farmer's market. Then I shut up. The important thing for an author to learn is to learn to shut up when they're talking about the book and let a person ask a question. And once they ask a question, then they're engaged and you can have a conversation. And so we do all that stuff at the book shows that we're doing. That's our main goal, is getting a person in front of a reader that they don't know and being able to talk about their book.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I know that, everybody thinks about it. Everybody thinks about writing a book and that, but but the industry's changed so much, and it is a lot of work to get it done. But once the finished product is in your hands, it's a very exciting time. Yeah. I'm thinking about bookstores now the way I think about record stores. Mm-hmm. It used to be you go to the mall and go to the record store, and now those stores are gone. Same thing with the bookstores in the mall; they're gone. Yeah. You have a few independent bookstores, and that just like Homer's Records, I think, is doing very well. But there used to be locations all over town. Now there's one in the Old Market. Mm-hmm. And it's independent. It's an independent record store. They got a few recycled used record stores that I think do fairly well too. Same thing is sort of true in the book industry, isn't it? Where basically some mom and pop shops are doing okay, but the big boys are gone.
Barnes & Noble is redoing their whole thing, but a lot of those books are, they're on a list. When they sell one, they reorder one. It's not like they're curated necessarily, mm-hmm. although the new philosophy of Barnes & Noble is to more closely curate to the community that they're in. So the manager has a little more latitude as far as what they put into their bookstore. But places like the Bookworm, that survived like, just I don't know how they did it, but they're one of the few, and they're pretty famous, at least in North America, for having survived the big box bookstores. And it's because they carefully curate. They're very careful about book clubs and that. They want to know the books that they have in there, so when somebody comes in and tells them what they like to read, they know where to lead them. There's another one called the Book Nook that is fairly new. They're doing great stuff. They're out in La Vista now is the only one they have available or have left, but they had 3 bookstores and then they've combined it into this one. But they do a lot of programs for local authors and have, we're collaborating with them on a lot of stuff because let's face it, it's very tough being in the market. But as long as they realize that big box bookstores are not the only game in town, and Amazon's not the only game in town. It used to be 15% of books are sold in bookstores. Now I'm thinking it's more like 8%. Because people walk into a bookstore. Let's say you do all the great advertising in the world. Somebody walks into a Barnes & Noble or, I shouldn't use their name, but they walk into a bigger bookstore. Yeah. They're distracted by everything else. So you did the marketing to get them in the bookstore, and then they buy something else.
Yeah.
So, we want the marketing that we do to lead them to the book we're trying to market.
Well, okay, again, like going back to like 2008 when I had my book, I had connections, so I did a bunch of radio interviews around the country and that. I did a few, I went to the Bookworm and did an in-store book signing there and a few other things like that. Do those sort of things still work as far as selling books? There used to be a publication that like all radio stations got.
Yeah, RTIR.
That would say, hey, here's some authors for you. Is that even still in existence anymore? It's not, is it?
No.
So, okay, so if I've got the book now and it's published, how do I get it out? How do I promote it?
There's a ton of things that you can use, tools that you can use, e-blasts and online marketing tools. There are a lot of podcasters that interview authors now, and there's different. I don't know how you get your guests, but there's like Brian's podcasts. We get a newsletter from them, and then when people are looking for a certain kind of guest about a topic, we have a list of those. People are always ready. We do a lot of conference marketing and stuff. So with our nonfiction books, if somebody wants to speak, we help them apply for being a speaker. There is a long lead time with those kinds of things, but there's just a ton of opportunities that are outside of the bookstore to market, and their own website and Facebook for certain kinds of things. Instagram, they have a thing called Bookstagram, which is a hashtag on there, and lots of books are marketed that way. Tons still of word of mouth. It's huge. We have a campaign going right now where it's a bunch of e-blasts that are stacked on top of each other. And we're in the top 9,000 books over all of the 170 million books or whatever there are on Amazon. And so it leads them to that Amazon. And those are paid books. They're not giving them away for free on that. So there's a million different things. It totally depends on the genre.
Yeah. And it's constantly changing. So you got to stay on top of all of that.
Yeah, that's the fun part of being, small. A small business is I can pivot very quickly as far as what we need to do. And we have a lot of, we don't do it alone. There's a lot of partners out there.
Lisa, thanks for your help in my book. And I will admit, I keep thinking I want to write another one. I've got an idea for one, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. You make it a lot easier, but there's a lot of work to get it done. And that, but the reward, it is. If you've ever thought about writing a book, do it. And maybe now that I've said this, I got to sit down and start working on the next one. But yeah, it really is. If you ever thought about doing it, what's holding you back? Are you holding yourself back? Don't. Anyway, till next time, I want to remind you, make sure that if you subscribe to the Becca's Talking YouTube channel, make sure you like us on Facebook, Becca's Talking Facebook page, and spread the word, tell your friends, share the podcast. You find one interesting, say, hey, go online and say, hey, Charlie, I think you might find this interesting. By the way, if you miss some podcasts on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, there are all sorts of people that we have had previous weeks. So people talking about immigration, people talking about crime, people talking about, I'm pointing to you for crime.
I'm like, wait,
people talking about crime. Yeah, you look guilty. Anyways, this is a wide variety of topics. Check out the YouTube channel. Till next time, thanks, take care, and bye, y'all.